So I just kept hearing this voice in my head. You know, my parents or my grandparents would say, don't play with your food. Well, I play with my food all the time because in my edible landscapes, I'm always doing like a wavy pattern or trying something new. So I had this soaker hose laying out right here, and I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting pattern. So I just followed the pattern, and I'm just digging into my existing peach guild. I just planted a service berry over there. This is where I had some jalapenos last year. I have sweet mint, I have salvia, but we've got some dinosaur kale coming up, which I think this kind of kale is the most beautiful kind of kale. And then we have some snapdragons in here, and I'm gonna put a ton more snapdragons. And then we have some more salvia and some other things. So I thought I would just show you what's going on in the peach guild and how I'm playing with my food. I hate to cover these until I'm completely done because sometimes I'll lose my place of where I left off. So I want that to show until I get this whole trench done with these onions. I have a lot of onions to plant. My husband was at Tractor Supply or Home Depot or something. I said, yeah, go ahead and get them, because he called and he said, hey, they have onions. And he got some purple ones and some white ones and some Texas yellow sweet onions. So I was like, yeah, just go ahead and get them, because I don't know what the situation is going to be and how hard they are going to be to find once everybody decides that they want to garden this year. So yeah, and I do have a bunch of onions that are already growing that I actually planted last spring. So they die back. And when it gets too hot, I pulled a lot of onions. We ate a lot of those onions, but they just laid there dormant throughout the whole summer. And then in the fall, they just started growing back again. So let's just say one of these dies back. Let's just say I pull the majority of these, but one of these dies back. Most of the time, it will just lay there dormant until the temperatures get right again, and then it'll start growing again. And that's kind of how I have a continuous supply of onions, even if I don't plant onions every single spring or winter. And I am going to just put out as many of these as makes sense to me right then. Again, I just don't try to do any kind of real strict, stringent designs. I put stuff, if I do that, if I say, oh, the placement has to be perfect, it's that paralysis by analysis. And I really want to talk a lot more about that, because that is something that will jump up and bite you. You know where, because you just won't get it done because it's not perfect. So you just got to, I go and I put some stuff out there knowing that we're going to be pulling these and we're going to be eating them. So they're not permanent. It's not like they're perennial, especially with things like onions that are annual. Again, it may die back. I won't see it for the whole summer, and then it might come back in the fall. I'm like, oh, I'm always very well surprised whenever that happens, and I'm happy for them to do that. One of the things I am going to do, though, is I am going to make a note of it, of where I put those. Now, if they were the kind of onion sets that have something's poking out of the ground and I can see where they are, I'm not so worried about putting it on the plan, but it's really still a good idea to go ahead and put it on the plan, which I'm going to do after I get everything in this one bed, which is right here. So you can kind of see where my snaky pattern is. And I just don't think you can ever have enough onions. It's one of those things that I always used to say repels and confuses pests, but really it confuses pests. So if you've got your onions kind of, they're still going in a line, but they're really more of a drift. Okay, let's go back and look at that one more time. So it is a line, it's just a wavy line, but I'm gonna carry this line all the way through. I'm not gonna go through my snapdragons. I'm gonna go around it somehow. I may even just start up again right here and do some kind of a wavy line around there, okay? So I may just set up, there's some more soaker hoses right there. I just kind of pulled those out and saw it was making a cool pattern. So I thought, I'm just going to follow that pattern and just go with it and just have fun with it, just playing with my food. But it's going to go through the entire guild, and it will be, so not at all like monoculture. So I think a lot of people get confused with a straight line, or a line means monoculture. A line of tomatoes, a line of peppers, or a row of peppers, a row of tomatoes, a row of corn, where everything is just all one crop together. But here, basically, and I used to plant like one onion here, one onion there, one onion there, but edible landscaping wise, like to the eye, it didn't have that rhythm and flow. So I'm doing it really more like a drift, like we would do in landscaping, right? But again, onions is something that, you know, it's going in for a very short time. They're going in, they'll be coming out in a few months. So it's something that I'm gonna have fun with. It's not anything permanent, so I'm having fun with it. Want to do before I move on, so I won't forget what I planted where, is I am going to go ahead and write it down in my plan for the peach guild. Okay, I've done this many times. I do know about approximately how big it is. There's Melon Hill, there's a tree right here, there's a tree right here. I'm going to have an open space, a tree right here, and a tree right here. Now this is kind of my snapdragons planting right there. So if I did have this all written down, it would be peach tree, peach tree, peach tree, peach tree in one. Okay, I'm just gonna say peach tree, and I'm gonna kind of consolidate this with the one that I already know I have. Just don't want to forget where I planted this stuff. So I know that I have some kale growing right here. I have like 3 kale plants. So I'm just going to say kale. And it's really more of a biennial, but I'm just going to put it right here under annuals. So that's going to be number 16. This is a snapdragon patch. Snapdragons are great self-seeders. So snapdragon is number 17. And then I'm just gonna do, I kind of went around this kale patch, and I kind of went up there. So I'm just gonna say, I went around this tree right here. And then I kind of went like that, and then I went like this, and then I went like this, and then I went like that. So all of that, it's kind of messy. See why? I just want to make a note of what I put here. So this little snaky thing right here is, and I did run out of the 80 bulbs of the Ebenezer white onions. So I'm just going to put onions, Ebenezer white, and I'm going to call that number, okay, so that, I wrote it here, so I'm calling it number 19. I actually stopped right about here. So this area right here is 19. I'm gonna say 19 because I'm gonna clean this up and put it in better in my existing Peach Guild plan. But then I did go in with these onions here, and I didn't use them all. And I don't know how many I planted, but these are actually sticking up out of the ground, so I can actually see these. So I'm just gonna, and I did look at the tag, and it just says onions. But I can see that they're red or purple, however you want to say. So I'm just going to say onions, red. And I'm just going to say that is this right here. I'm going to make a distinctive line. I just want to know what I planted that I can't see mostly. That's my big concern, because I don't want to plant something right on top of that. And I can kind of see because that's where the soaker hose is lying, but pretty soon I'm going to be covering this up with mulch. I'm going to be planting other things. But I'm going to call this, so red onions, I'm just going to say 20. So that's number 20. Okay, that does seem like kind of a pain to just stop and write that down, but I just can't tell you how many times I have planted over something because I forgot that I planted something there, whether it's bulbs, whether it's seeds. If I planted it straight into the ground, I want to just write down a quick note, and I like to do it in this plan because that way I have an idea at least, you know, like where my open spots are. Like, I'm not turning this in for a contest. This is for me so that I know where I planted something. And it took all of, besides me talking about it, if I wasn't talking about it, it would have been a lot faster. But this took me like maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I always try to write down the date. I don't always do it, but I always wish that I had done it. And that is, I think today's the 18th. I'm always sorry when I don't do that. But for me, this is going to be in the F category. That's a fumigant. Confuse and repels pests. We're about to get some rain, and I just want to get it all in before it rains. All right, that's going to do it for this one. See you in the next one. Oh, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And then if you hit that little bell, it will actually alert you when one of my videos goes up. And I'm just kind of putting out videos as I think about it. Oh, I think that I would have wanted to know this. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this one. Until next time, bye for now.